Hey everyone, how are you doing? It's Stephen here from Big Daddy. I'm just on Facebook Live, obviously, because you're here. This is Paul Hammond. It's very, very weird me being this side of the camera and having a guest, Paul. As you guys will know, every Monday we do Mental Health Monday, and it's to do with mental health, social media, and getting over sort of your life on camera. How you can use social media to sort of benefit you, your personal brand, your business, all of this stuff. And excellent, we've got someone on board already. This is what I like. So what I'm going to do is firstly thank everybody for coming, although we've only got a few people on, and I know the time has changed, and I'm really, really grateful for you all being here and coming in. Afternoon, Mark, it's great to have you. We've changed the time. I usually kick off this at 9 PM, and I really, really do. I'm so, so grateful for you, for everyone coming, because I've just stuffed you up really, haven't I, for about 6 hours. But it's 3 PM. We wanted to, it's really, really important what we're doing here. So I've travelled over from Norfolk, over to Suffolk to sit with Paul. We're doing this, I must say a massive thank you as well, because we're doing this interview in one of my clients' buildings. So a massive shout out to Steel & Co and Lowestoft. Amanda, make sure you share this, please. So guys, what I want you to do is, if you could please just literally share this post with all of your friends. Just put it on your Facebooks, put it in sort of groups that you're involved in. We're going to be talking mental health. We're going to be talking about Paul's PTSD. We're going to be talking about his new book. I'm going to grill him on some sort of questions, social media, how we're going to promote it for him, because I'm going to help him promote his new book. I'm going to wind my neck in now. I'm going to hand you over to this man. He's going to tell you a story, and I'm then going to start inviting people so please share this with everybody you know. It's really, really vitally important that people understand that actually, although mental health is technically an illness, and there's a disability, this, that, and the other, we've all got mental health because we've all got one of these. We've all got a mind. So please share this broadcast with everybody. I'm going to be monitoring Facebook. We're going to fire up Instagram Live as well. We've got it on desktop just so that we can do all the interaction with you and really give you the value that you deserve, because you've come here to watch this. So massively grateful. Please, Paul, introduce yourself, tell your story, and just have a chat with people, because people are awesome on Facebook.
Okay,
they
thanks,
really
Steve.
are. Go for it.
Hi everyone. For those that don't know me, my name is Paul Hammond, and for the last 5 years I've been suffering from complex PTSD. It's post-traumatic stress disorder, and the difference is that with complex PTSD, it's multiple events that create my illness. To give some idea of the impact of this on my life, I want to give you a brief history of where I was and what I did. I started my career in music. I love music. I'm music crazy. I had 35 years on stage as a professional DJ. I first DJed when I was about 13 years old in Lowestoft, and went way up the ranks from there. My first big success was running a soul funk nightclub in Yarmouth in the 70s, at the time of the Case of Soul Weekenders. I was at the forefront of the new wave alternative music scene in the Midlands, beginning of the 80s. I had 10 wonderful years up there, during which time I won 7 National Club of the Year awards and was one of the top 6 DJs in the country. Absolutely loved being on stage and with the right people, the right music. Following a fairly traumatic incident in the late 80s, I returned home to convalesce for a while, and after about 18 months I decided again to get into the music business, and I thought I'd open my own nightclub. And one or two of you probably remember this club because it's quite a legend in Lowestoft now, but I'm the guy who created Blue Notes, and it was fantastic. Great people.
I used to go.
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. You know, the people would come in so quickly, it would be full, it would be great atmosphere, and yeah, for 2 or 3 years, maybe a bit more, I was there. At the time I had my own record shop as well, which I don't know how I managed to work that into my hours, but I did somehow. Life changed a lot, really. I was heavily into conservation and environment. I did an Open University degree in horticulture and conservation. Then, after leaving Blue Notes, I joined some friends in Norwich and worked with Paul Allen at Rick's Place in Norwich. Went back to the Midlands for a couple of years, and then returned to open Bourbon Street in Great Yarmouth, which again, 2 years there, some wonderful memories and great people. That really brought me back to the decade where everything went pear-shaped. 99 was the turning point. I lost my partner, who died to a very rare illness when she was only 36 years old. Just a couple of weeks later, I lost my father, who died suddenly. And that was a step into a black hole that I have no idea where I disappeared to for 18 months. When I finally came out of that black hole, I threw myself into everything I could possibly do for all the right and wrong reasons. I spent years developing a huge project for conservation, the environment and disabled people, 200-acre conservation park in Suffolk. I also began writing. I wrote my first book. I was also somehow dragged into getting the sport of bowls, which I became very good at. I became a club champion. Within 2 years, the highlight of my bowling career, I played and beat the world champion, Mervyn King, on the grass at Yarmouth. Over the next 10 years, it was fairly mixed. I was playing bowls a lot, playing club, county, national, world championship qualifiers in my spare time. Daytime, I was running a conservation retail business 7 days a week. And on top of that, I was writing as well. And I woke up one day and realised I was doing 135 hours a week work-wise, and I wasn't coping very well.
Jesus.
It was insane. I don't know how I did it. I don't know what the coping mechanism was, but eventually it caught up with me. In the last decade, towards the end, I just published my third book, and I thought I'd made it. My book hit the top 100 bestsellers without any advertising, publicity really. The business was a runaway success, and unfortunately the overwork caught up with me. I had a serious health scare. There was a chance it was going to be cancer, which luckily it wasn't. It was something else, but I became very ill, lost a lot of weight, and needed to change my life if I was going to carry on living. Out of the blue, Bob Geldof advertised the fact that there was a pending Horn of Africa famine crisis, and that was really the turning point of my entire life and how I ended up becoming so ill. For a year, I campaigned to organise and fund a convoy to take 30 tonnes of aid over to the Horn of Africa crisis. The British Army stepped in to assist me. It's my dad's regiment, which I'm incredibly proud of, the Royal Anglian, the Suffolk Regiment. I decided to give up on everything in the UK, to sell up business and go over to Africa and actually get involved. And I had designed a sustainable farming project which would be fantastic for the communities, and also on a long-term basis provide them with permanent source of food and income and a sustainable life. And off I went. I was very proud to meet one of the Kenyan ministers at the time, who was one of the leading ministers, John Mashuki.
You keep going, because I'm just inviting lots of people. They need to hear your story.
And I met him, and they endorsed the project. I travelled with the army to Africa, where I spent the best part of 3 years. It's difficult to describe, and let's put it bluntly, it will take the rest of my life to deal with the trauma that I experienced out there. There is no way of me being able to describe or give it the merit it deserves of what life is like. I can only tell you that it was the most complex, violent, radicalist, racist country I've ever been into. To be in a minority where you're targeted day and night because you're bringing aid to the country. They want what you can give. They don't want you to succeed. The interests over there are completely different from anything humanitarian. It's a hostile environment, never safe. Everything I try to do, there's always somebody behind you trying to stop you or undo it or take advantage of it. And that's everyone from government all the way down to the policeman on the beat. I was telling Steve earlier what it's like. I said if you're in the UK and a child dies, a young child, and you hear it on the news, it's a horrible story.
Yeah.
How would you feel that first month that we were out there, 25,000 children under 5 died from starvation? And you're working with these kids on the street. We set up a program for the street kids. We had about 300 street kids meeting once a week for food, clothing, support. We'd have school classes. Most of the kids under 5 are glue sniffing. Not because of drugs and a habit, it's the only way they can escape the pain and the victimisation.
Okay.
We weren't living in hotels, we were living in the same sort of places they were. You know, we were, living behind tin fences in very old army barracks from many, many years ago. A lot of them had very basic facilities. You're lucky you had a toilet or shower. It's bare earth outside. When it rained, we were so close to Mount Kenya, you knew within 2 or 3 hours the rain would reach you, and the water would be a torrent raging down the street, 2 foot deep. You had to wade across the road to rescue children on the other side. It's impossible to describe. I have one very vivid memory, which has always stuck with me, which is about the only memory I can really talk about, or struggle to talk about. We were visiting Nairobi.
Okay.
We'd been to the children's home there, we'd taken aid, and in the middle of all the new high-rise buildings, Coca-Cola had got their new tower blocks in there, all the big names, organisations. I could see these fantastic birds of prey. I thought, wow, look at that. There must have been 50 or 60 eagles, and I said to the driver, what is that? Can we go and see? I love wildlife. And we literally drove around the back of these tower blocks, and what was there was the biggest rubbish dump you could ever imagine. It stretched for miles. I mean, it was just the smell and the pollution. Families were living on this rubbish dump. They were, it was their life. They had tin shacks, cardboard shacks. Children were playing on the rubbish dumps, and one of the images that's engraved in my mind is children playing with hypodermic needles, from drug use, from other people that have been. Yeah. The parents, the mothers were looking after the kids, the dads were literally doing slave labour at a local business, and they'd come out lunchtime for their food. And the mothers would collect the water to cook the rice in.
Okay.
The water they took from the ditch. The ditch was the sewage water. And
so,
that was our idea of life.
Sorry.
No, that was, but to a lot of people that's horrific, but to me the reality was that was just the thin edge of what reality was really like, and I had 3 years of that. So.
And you came back when?
Eventually, when it was no longer safe to live out there, because they couldn't stop me doing the work I was doing, because I was dedicated to making the difference, I had a contract placed on my life. The charity directors in the UK stepped in to get me out of the country, and got me home safe, without any notification. And I flew home, and I think it's back December 17th, 2012.
Okay.
I came home. In coming home, them 2.5 years cost me everything, my career, my life, livelihood. I came in with a shirt off my back and my home to come home to.
Okay. So I can summarise for people,
please.
Because there's a lot of people coming in and it's been shared, and I'm really, really grateful. So thank you, Pete, everybody. You loved music.
Love music.
Threw yourself into music. We're very successful because there's some stuff that Paul's not told you that I'm aware of, that he's won national awards. You've worked with, someone I loved when I was a kid was Chad Jackson. Here's a drummer get wicked. What an amazing track. So we were talking about that earlier as well. So you've worked with, you've worked in and with places, nightclubs and venues all across the country with big acts like Duran Duran and people like that. And then you leave the music scene due to various things going on in your life. You lose your best friend, your soulmate. You lose your dad. You've got all the emotion of that. You go away. You leave home. You set up. Well, actually, you had a business first,
yes.
which in Suffolk. which was, you just recap on that again.
After I lost my father and my partner, I really wanted to do something different, and I couldn't face going back to music at that time. So there's a story in the press about a young guy, ex-army I think he was, who was disabled. He'd lost his legs, he's in a wheelchair. Yeah. He loved his fishing, and I think he was in Wales, I may be wrong, but I think at that time the local lakes he went to, they refused him access for a wheelchair. Yeah. So he actually decided to build his own fishing lake, which he did, which is a fantastic story. I was so inspired of that, I decided let's do this on a big scale, and what about if we make not just fishing but all conservation and environment open to disabled people. Let's put in craft centres, education centres, everything on one project. And this project started as a little 1 acre project, ended up as a 200 acre conservation environment farm with about 20 sort of craft education related businesses, fully disabled accessible. We needed £5 million in European funding, which we had applied for. We managed to raise from my initial £50,000 donation and a mortgage to buy the site, set it up as a trust, and for a couple of years it was running, but it was crazy because I was working every day. I still doing my bowling, still doing my other interests, and I was driving every night down to London to Spitalfield markets with a transit van to pick up fruit and veg for that. And
so you were the all-time hustler. And so you're doing all of this, and you were in a car accident on the way back from Spitalfield, right? Yeah. So you're taken off the road. You're out of action for about 9 months.
9 months.
And in that time, you have that project, business, trust, whatever, however we're going to call it, you have that taken away from you.
Yes.
In my terminology, someone does your legs.
Yes.
Okay. That's mine, not yours. Okay. I just want to put that out there. So you have your legs done. You lose your partner. You lose your father. You then go to Africa to do good. You use your own investment out there in Africa, and then you are terrorised by various people, syndicates, organisations out of there. And I'm right in saying, I don't think you've mentioned it yet, that actually it got to a point where your life was threatened and you were airlifted out of there.
Yes.
Okay, brought back to this country. Yeah. But yet still, by the fact that you were doing good out there, people out there found you, located you here via relatives in the UK, and then caused you more grief.
Yes, I wasn't prepared to give up on my story about what happened overseas. We had a charity website which we campaigned every day on to highlight what was happening. At one point the website had over 5,000 people following and maybe 40,000 people a month going through the website. We named and shamed all the people from government down that were involved, what they did. We had all the evidence, and for 5 years we went through the Kenya justice system, and everyone from the justice system, Human Rights Commission, anyone in Kenya wouldn't act, wouldn't support, wouldn't take any action at all. Because of the publicity, the people we had named decided to do something about it. At this time I'd already tried to deal with all the other things that was impossible for me to deal with, which we can come back on in a second perhaps. But start of the year I was targeted. I started getting malicious mail. It started off as hate mail and then slander, and eventually escalated into death threats and detailed threats on my life. These people telling me that they knew where I lived, would tell me where I lived, tell me how they were going to kill me. And in the space of 3 months I had over 90 of these letters, black and white, and the people they didn't hide who they were, where they were. They said, we're here, we're in this part of the country, and we challenge the authorities to come and find us, and we'll kill anyone that gets between us.
Okay. So no wonder you've got PTSD. No wonder you're suffering from stress, anxiety, mental health issues, whatever you want to call it. And I just want to tap onto one thing about, again, it's, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to, because I know there are on here people from organisations that I've worked in the past, and we've discussed this, okay? And at the end of the day, I think that we're on Facebook Live, we've got freedom of speech. I used to be a police officer, and I actually have to question some of the information that's been given to me on this, because Paul has suffered from mental health issues. okay, is a victim of crime, and I'm right in saying that the investigation led to you being given a statement.
Yes.
Okay, criminal investigation regarding the people who were relatives of the people in Kenya giving you death threats. They were here in the UK, okay, and they took X amount of months to find them. Yeah. They were located, they were arrested, they were interviewed, and then without, am I right in saying it was without any discussion and information back to you, they gave this guy a caution?
The last I'd heard, they'd gone in touch with me and said they had arrested the guy concerned, they had interviewed him and released him with a caution.
Okay, so threats to kill is an offence that comes up straight away. Harassment is an offence that comes up straight away. Not to even think of all the other stuff that could have happened, but you've literally got threats to kill, you've got harassment. I'm going to put it out here now to all of the police officers that I know that are on here, and yes, one person has just popped up and said, what, caution? Is that proportionate to the offence? There's a question. This man suffered from mental health condition, okay, complex PTSD, okay, from doing good for other people for all of his life. You've got to ask the question, was that caution proportionate to the offence? I personally don't think it is. The fact that he was not spoken to prior to that caution being given, I don't think is correct. Hell, any police officer or chief or anyone in the police can shoot me down if they want. I'm really happy to have this conversation. But my only question is that proportionate to the offence? Because I don't think it is. And how has that helped this man?
The one thing I couldn't understand, and it wasn't until actually talking to my MP and others, they asked me all the various things like, were you asked to do a victim impact assessment?
Yeah.
And were you offered this? And I said, no, they just took my statement and said they'd get back to me, and that was all that happened.
Okay, so when I left the police, okay, and we're talking about 6-7 years ago now, at that time, sort of the tail end of my career there, victim personal statements were being made. Okay, did you ever give one of those?
No.
See, I just don't get
it. To put this in perspective, I mean, I haven't talked about all the other mental health issues for the last 4 years, which it seems beyond anything you could imagine, but the effect of what this guy did meant that I lived in one room of my house for 9 months. I ate, lived, slept in the lounge of my house. I had a personal alarm with me. I was terrified. I gave up or lost all the recovery process that I'd made. And it was only that with the support of family, real family and friends, that I've survived. You know, there were times I just didn't want to go on, and that was truth. That's who I am. So the other events beforehand, I mean, you could take that as perhaps that's the worst thing that's happened to me in the last 4 years, but that's just one of the many trauma events that have impacted on me, which is why these multiple events have driven me to the point of suicide on several occasions. You know, you can't write a story about this and read it and think, wow, can this really happen in Britain? But it has, you know. I thought when I came home, my experiences would have been the worst and the things would never get better. But instead, what happened to the UK was equally as bad as what happened in Kenya. And, you know, that's...
I'm really, really grateful for you coming and telling your story and sharing it with me. Because it's no secret, you know, we've shared this story, you and me, we've talked about it quite a bit prior to this. You know, we've met a couple of times before we even were going to do this. And, you know, are you happy to carry on?
Yes, yeah. Yes. You know, okay. It's a strange thing, but maybe it's goes back to my DJing years, and I feel it's a way of getting not closure, but to allow me to breathe and move on with life, to talk about things. I mean, I came home around about December the 17th, 2012, week before Christmas.
Yeah.
January, February, March, it took that long before I even dared step out of the house to find help. It wasn't just a case of sitting at home on a settee doing nothing. I used to drown the day out in very loud music. to cover the pain. I mean, I'd spend all day screaming at the walls, you know, polishing off bottles of wine at night, just anything to dull the pain. And yet night times when you go to sleep, the nightmares are the worst. And it's nightmares that never go away. You know, it's I'm trying to sort of bullet point this last few years because I can't go into detail. I've talked to Steve about it earlier, but 3 months after being home, I found medical support and was referred to the crisis care team and wellbeing. Because my situation was too unstable, I was then referred to another support group who were brilliant. But within a couple of months of starting this long recovery process, the bank stepped in and put me on the streets. I was in the process of actually selling my house because that's what I'd been advised to. And even though the banks knew this, about 10 days before the property sold, they turned up with the bailiffs and kicked me out. And I had this, luckily Dial stepped in and various advisors, and over that space of the next 4 or 5 weeks we had to fight them and get the property back and get it sold at a ridiculous price. That was the first time I was driven to the point of attempting suicide. I think it is, I don't know what kept me going, quite honestly. Even now, the bank's still on me the balance of the money from the house sale.
How long ago was that?
4 years.
Who's your bank?
Well, actually, the bank that held the mortgage was GE Money, even though it was done through the HSBC. Okay. And GE Money is the one I've had the problem with.
Come on, there's loads of financial people out there. Can someone please give this man some advice, or some help? Financial advisors, bankers, anybody. Drop something in the comments below. Why can you not just do one good, nice thing today? It's not going to cost you anything, is it? Apart from maybe half an hour of your time.
The thing that left me stunned with GE Money, I had a contract that after so many years, you get X amount settlement to pay off the loan, and it's in black and white and signed by them. So I knew how much I was going to get back from the house. And when I agreed to pay the balance, they kept the entire lot. And they said, well, that was just an indication. I said, well, it's your document, it's a contract, and it's signed. And he said, that's not worth the paper it's written on. We don't, it's just an indication.
And so is this a type of mortgage?
Yes.
And endowment by any chance? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
I'm
no expert, don't get me wrong, I'm really not.
I had a personal mortgage for my house.
Okay.
And then a second charge behind that secured against the house for the business. So when I sold my business, I could pay off the mortgage, which is what I wanted to do, but they never gave me the chance.
Well, I'm going to put a shout out now. If there's anybody out there, who can just shed some light and give this man some peace of mind, please drop your details in the comments below and I will pass them on to Paul. Because, one of my absolute mantras that I say day in, day out, and I did a post, you have a look on my Instagram today. I was at a meeting this morning. I hope you don't mind me just jumping in here, okay? And I was at a breakfast meeting this morning for Breakaway, and there's a charity there, and they're talking about how they're helping young kids in sport and this, that, and the other. And this one young kid has got no football boots. And I've been in that situation, when I was 11 years old, I had no bloody football boots, or my mum had to bought me a pair of football boots because she couldn't afford to buy me them every season, and I literally bought them too big for me, so they'd last me another season, Broke my heart today, so I've offered to buy this young kid his football boots,
Same story.
20, 30 quid, maximum is going to cost me, whatever, it doesn't care, it doesn't matter, it's not the point, but it's just doing one nice thing for somebody, so if everybody here on Facebook Live, Instagram, whatever it is, if you could just do one nice thing for somebody every day, whether it's make a cup of tea, open a door, smile for someone, acknowledge somebody, buy a kid his football boots, whatever it might be, drop some names in the comments below and give this guy 30 minutes of your time just to give him some peace of mind, because I'm telling you now, from what I've understood, there's been some real injustices here, and I'm not here to spark any arguments, but just do one positive thing a day for somebody else.
The thing that shook me most, funny enough, they knew I had a severe mental health condition. They had all the medical evidence, HSBC had actually said they wanted the house sold and me to stay in it until the house was sold, and they were happy.
Okay.
They were good. G Money took me twice to court to seize the property, twice Dahl went in and stopped them, and the judge on the final time found in my favour and said it was outrageous that G Money were trying to take the house.
Judge.
Yeah, and he threw them out of court and gave me 30 days to prove I was selling the property. We were on the verge of completion. G Money in full knowledge, they still stepped in and kicked me out of the house. We were 10 days away from completion.
Arseholes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you can imagine, that was the first time that, I actually, attempted to end it. I thought, life couldn't get worse than that, but yeah, unfortunately, it did in a very serious way.
Okay.
I had a partner overseas in Kenya. She actually worked for a British couple I knew, so therefore I trusted her and respected her. And been going out with her for a while. Because she was born in Kenya, to come back with me from Kenya to Britain, we had to apply for a work permit.
Okay.
Now, we were together, yes, we were in love, we were happy.
While you tell this bit, I'm going to invite some other people.
Please do.
Okay.
So, we were together, and when I came back to the UK, part of my way of coping with my illness and fighting to the right to survive was to get her back into the UK. The cost of that work permit and the paperwork and everything else was horrendous. I mean, over £10,000 with no legal aid or help. They made you jump through hoops to do it, and we got here. And we got married, and I thought that was the turning point. And that was November of that year, a couple of years back. I can't remember offhand which year it was, my mind isn't that brilliant, but you can imagine my shock that this person who knew of my illness, who had acknowledged my illness and given her love to me and consented to marry, then became a very aggressive and abusive partner who took advantage of my health, made my life a misery, and it very clearly became obvious that she didn't actually love me. I was just a person that she had latched onto to get a work permit for the UK, and she pushed me to the point of a breakdown where family and medical people had to step in, and then she got up and left, and she went off to live with family, and I found out later that she'd already found accommodation and a job and everything else from the day she came to the UK, and it was already arranged by her family, and I was just a stepping stone. So that was, well, yeah.
Okay.
That was.
I didn't know all that bit.
You do now.
I do now. Do you have me to keep inviting people?
Yes, please do. It was, yeah.
What? I'm going to ask you a question. Okay. What did that do to you?
It destroyed my life. Recovery program. Everything I built my life on those last 2 years was taken away. But it wasn't losing that. It was the fact of how she was controlling and abusive.
Okay.
And it was the fact that someone could so manipulate another person knowing of their illness and pretend they were something completely different. I mean, it was extremes. I was lucky in some respects that one of my support workers had seen her a couple of months ago on the streets, talking to me and actually, having a go at me, tearing into me and humiliating me and taking advantage. And,
Okay.
So on that day, as a fact, my family took me straight down to the medical centre. I got medical help. Otherwise, I don't know. I don't think I'd have survived that. It was, I think, these last 3 years, it's been one event after another, and the next event, which a lot of people in the UK, a lot of people out today will acknowledge and are victims of and know of, is the horrendous treatment we have all had from Atos and the DWP over benefits. It took me 9 months to get benefits in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm still chasing for the money outstanding, but the first assessment, the NHS crisis care team took me and supported me, and I got a fair assessment. But
Yeah.
as everyone knows, the government stepped up the pressure on benefits and everyone was forced to have another assessment. I had to go to Yarmouth in a taxi to be reassessed. The person interviewing me was very clearly not a medical professional. They were just there to fill in the form. I was not allowed to see a copy of the form. I was not allowed to submit any of the hundreds of pages of medical evidence. I was humiliated, embarrassed, victimised, just treated like as if it's something that had just found on your shoe. I was absolutely numb. Towards the end, when I actually raised the fact that we hadn't discussed mental health in us, they asked me 3 questions. The first one was called cat, dog, rabbit. Now name the 3 words I've just said. So I said cat, dog, rabbit. What's 86 take away 5? 81. And there was a third question, I can't remember what it was. At the end of which the staff, well, they jumped up and applauded me and said, "Well done, I wish we could do that." And it was an insult, it was degrading. I left that place wanting to walk under the new story. It pushed me to actually want to end it. I know most of that week I didn't see most of the week. I got paralytic and just couldn't cope. I considered overdosing. I just could not cope. I appealed straight away, as Dial had advised. Within 10 days we got a response back. It was just literally a photocopy of the first assessment, and it basically said, in the eyes of our assessor, they believe that you're okay, therefore we deem you are okay, and we've made half my benefits. Which was outrageous. It's taken me 2 years to get the paperwork that I'm legally entitled to follow up to the upper tribunal, I think it is.
Because they wouldn't release it, would they?
They wouldn't. They refused.
And you're
to.
entitled to it under the Freedom of Information Act.
Well, I went to my MP and he contacted him, Peter Aldous. I mean, he's been brilliant on this and very supportive. And they didn't reply to his first letter. I sent recorded delivery letters to the DWP and Atos every month for 18 months. They refused to respond. Peter Aldous then phoned and intervened directly, at which point they agreed to send the paperwork. What should have come to me in 2 months has taken 2 years.
Okay. One
day I suddenly received this dirty jiffy bag turning up at the door full of hundreds of pages of paperwork. I thought, well, I can't cope with looking at this. I did open the first package and it was the start of the assessment.
Okay.
That this medical person, and I read the first 2 or 3 lines and I had to stop. And the assessor described me in the first 2 or 3 lines, and they said, interviewing today, Mr. Hammond has just arrived, and first appearance, I can see he's a dirty, scruffy little man. And
you've got this paperwork.
I've got the paperwork. It's in black. I'm absolutely stunned. And I couldn't face really going on because I had that, and this was just before the case started with all the online abuse and threats. I didn't know which way to turn. I took legal advice and they said, well, unfortunately the government have taken away legal aid now, so you can't fight it unless you go to court yourself. And I thought, well, to hell with this, you know, I've got a right to life. And the thing that gave me encouragement, the only thing was November last year, the United Nations had been looking into the government and DWP, and they ruled in November that the government had breached human rights and disability discrimination on various counts, and had ordered the government and DWP to put it right. And I thought, well, that's the document that says I've got a case. That proves I can take them to court because I can prove in black and white. And that's as far as I've been able to cope with the last 9 months, because straight after that I had the incident with the threats and intimidation.
Yeah.
And for the last 9 months I've lived in one room of the house, and my counselling team have kept me alive. And that is really where I come to the book.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you.
Your story has really, really touched me over the last few weeks, and so I'm getting a bit woolly now. It's going to be like a bromance here. It's going to get me emotional.
Big hugs next.
And I hearing it again, and then every time, every time we talk about it, and I hear it, and people out there, they will not be able to appreciate the fact that I can see it in your eyes, and I can see the emotion, and the pauses and things like that, and you can see your mouth drying up, and then you can, and I'm here experiencing it, and I'm very grateful and very, very humbled for you to share this with me. So thank you very much.
No, it's a pleasure, honestly. I mean, the one thing I've always done with this as a way of not just sharing what I'm going through, is by helping others, is talking about my story every day on my Facebook page. And I have been so touched by the number of people that have got in touch and said, this is a reflection of what we're going through, with benefits, with the government, with everything else. And I've had stories in from them, from people in the army, with the same situation. And I thought, the more I have stories coming in, the more I want to do something about it. Now, the last year, I reached a point, actually, only a few months ago, I thought, well, I've either got to end it, or I've got to find a reason for living, because I don't believe you can stand still. You either go backwards or you go forwards. And I thought, well, the only two things in life I love is music and writing. For the last 2 years, friends of mine have encouraged and supported me on the music. They've offered me radio shows and said, please, look, come on, you can do this. We need you back. We know how good you are. And I thought, well, radio show is something I can do from home where I haven't got to face people.
Okay.
The only way I can describe the effect some of this has had on me, and I'm really today only scratching the surface of what's happened. At the peak of my DJing career, I could stand in front of 50,000 people. In fact, I have stood in front of 50,000 people, because I designed and created the first Lowestoft Seafront Festival, which was launched at Blue Notes, which was an amazing experience. Up to recently, I couldn't stand in a room with 4 or 5 people. Through the help of family and friends, I've got 1 or 2 safe houses in town. I've got a couple of cafes I can go to. And funnily enough, one of the places my friends often go to for a drink, the old tavern around the corner, has been so supportive. Every member that goes in there, all their staff know my story, they support me, look after me. And they invited me earlier on to say, come and DJ for us and do our Christmas and New Year. And I said, well, I can't do that, I'm not ready. And also, I don't do the new music scene. I don't know anything about the new music scene.
It's not that great.
Not that great. And it's one of the reasons I walked away from DJing. For me, music died after the 2002-03. It was just no interest. I said, well, I would love to do specialist music nights, playing the music I love, that I know people of my era loved as well. And so I came up with the idea of doing once a month a classic rock night, an alternative music night, a 70s soul funk disco night, and a 90s old school night. They were the 4 generations of I absolutely loved the music.
And you're going to do them, aren't you?
I'm going to do them.
Excellent. Tell us all about it, come on. We need a massive shout out to these people, because there are some cracking people behind you regarding these events.
They are, and all the events we're doing are fundraising for mental health disability. No, we're not giving the money to a national organisation and never see it again. Every penny we raise is going to local and community projects in this region. For example, we've got the Walnut Tree Project at Norwich, which looks after veterans who have mental health disability. You've got places like Sam's Cafe in Bevan Street, which is an access project. And we want to support lots and lots and lots of small projects, from £500 up to £10,000.
People who need it.
People who need it. You know, and we're going to do as much as we can. And the Oak Tavern just turned around and said, let's do this, design the nights. So I put an idea starting.
Keep telling people. I'm going to invite some more people.
Please do.
Go for it.
So starting next March, we've now booked 20 gigs over the next 20 months, one a month. It's a small place, 100 people capacity, playing our music in a great pub. It's a free house, which is great. But they're just wonderful people, and they are on the quiet. They've raised tens of thousands of pounds for other charities over the years. They don't promote or advertise what they do. I know I'm going to be safe there because the entire pub's behind me, and we're now starting, getting ready for those campaigns and for the events. So they'll be advertised shortly. We've already done an announcement about the types of music we're going to be playing, which has gone down really well. And I'm looking forward to playing great music in a great place with great people. Again, the way Blue Notes was created.
Absolutely.
Up close and personal. And yeah, please do support me, because there'll be fundraising on the night. They don't take anything. I don't take anything. Nothing goes in admin or costs. 100% of what we raise is what goes to charity. I'm liaising with the Communities Embracing Mental Health Scheme, with Todd Sullivan, with Time to Change. I'm very passionate about mental health support, which is why I've become a champion for Time to Change, and why everything I do on my campaign page is about supporting mental health. And for me, it's not just someone doing a flavour of the month thing, because I do get upset that there's a lot of publicity, people jumping on the bandwagon promoting mental health, but talking, not acting. And I've said that for the rest of my life, everything I do, something's going to go back in supporting mental health projects. I've been very proud and humbled to have a tremendous amount of support from Peter Aldis, our MP, Emma Corlett, the Norwich councillor, who's very devoted to mental health disability campaigns, Todd Sullivan, who is campaigning for the CMAH project, people like John Dunn, you've talked to recently, who's a victim like myself, and many others. And people like these, are giving their support without asking anything back, and that's fantastic. So music is one step towards recovering. Long term, what we've discussed is about doing a gig in the park. Let's have groups and DJs and all the mental health groups together for a weekend, somewhere like Sparrow's Nest, where thousands of people can come and join and entertain and have fun. And let's not charge for people to come. Let them donate out of the goodness of their heart. Let's, promote the message. So that's something we want to long term. But that's the music, and then, of course, there's the book.
There's the book.
The book.
Now, I'm just going to say something here. Well, I'm still inviting people, okay? I've got some friends who are authors, okay, very successful authors, people who are publishers, okay? I struggle with my book at the moment. I mean, I'm aiming for about 30 or 40,000 words, okay? I'm about 10,500. This guy's done 300,000 words. I do not know how you've done that. I really don't. Now we've got to condense it. So there's going to be about 20 books there. But talk to me about your book and how that's going to, what the structure is, and also what it's for.
Okay. I never originally believed in myself writing-wise. I know a lot of people used to say, oh, you're very good at writing, and let's face it, my first book was fairly awful, I admit that. I look at it back now that it's embarrassing to read, but it was a stepping stone. And after that, I actually tried to do a novel, which was reasonable. It was humour, very much like sort of Vicar of Dibley, Only Fools and Horses, and it was a steep learning curve. But suddenly, out of those 4 years, I suddenly came up with a book that I felt was absolutely right. I was so happy with it, and that was the book that took off and made the bestsellers list, and I'm very proud of. So I had that belief, although not many people within my family really supported it, because I'd had so many things in my life that I tried to do and failed at. It became, an exception to the rule, and I could never understand that. I tried so hard to do so many good things and was put down for them. But anyway, you know, I still believed in writing. I'd also done an awful lot of poetry. Now, poetry, people think, oh, really, poetry? But I put a lot of emotion and passion into the modern poems. My proudest moment was I wrote a piece about Nelson Mandela as a tribute.
Okay.
And I sent it off thinking that would be the last I heard from it. And it actually got to Nelson Mandela, and I got a personal letter back thanking me. And it is about rising above what we go through in life. It's called A Rise Again. I've shared it on my Facebook page a couple of times.
Can you drop it in the comments for us?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm so proud of that, because it just gives a message. No matter what you go through, there's always hope. So I have plans long term to do something incredibly different with the poetry, and we can talk about that another time.
Cool.
All these last few years, once a month, I write my story about living with mental health, what it's like, and I don't pull any punches. If I'm, thinking about ending it, I talk about it. If I'm going through a tough time, fine, I talk about it. If I'm talking about an upbeat time and what's helped it, I talk about it. And I'm not to put too fine a point on it, because his head will never get out the door. But again, Peter Alders has. I know some people knock him, some people support him. But
I was with Pete this morning.
Yeah,
a breakfast event. Yeah,
but he's been so passionate about mental health, and he's followed my story, and time again, he said, "Your stories," he said, "are so passionate. You're really getting the message across." He said, "You've got to write this story," and he said, "You couldn't find a better time to do it." And at the point I was at my lowest this year, and thought, well, it's now make or break. I decided, no, whatever it takes, I'm going to write the story. You can't do it for nothing, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to bite the bullet here and try and find a way of doing it. So I decided I was going to sell my enormous record collection to raise enough money as matched funding to put an application for grants. So I've done that. I've got enough to do that finally, and so I started writing. I've designed the book cover,
invite some more people,
and it's called A Dying of the Light. I've done it properly and professionally so far. I've set up an Amazon author page. It's being sold exclusively through Amazon. A number of people like Peter and Emma and Todd and one or two others have come forward to do endorsements. Amazon are going to put the endorsements on the page to publicise. So we hope soon it'll be able to go on pre-order, which is the key thing. There's still a lot of writing to do. The book in itself, when finished, is about 750 pages long. But then I've looked at other autobiographies, and that's, it's about sort of similar situations size-wise. So I've gone to local experts for printing, Richard Clays at Bungay's, and they've been absolutely brilliant, done me a fantastic price to publish it. So now, for the next 4 or 5 months, I'm committed to finishing the book. I hope it's going to be a book with a difference. The first few chapters are quite small. They tell you about my life, the good parts, the life on stage, incredible life on stage, who we worked with, how we got on, what we did, my life in conservation. But the bulk of the book is my diarised account of living with PTSD these last 5 years. It'll be the first time that I tell of what happened in Africa, what it was like, because it's the only way I can deal with it, is actually to put it into words. Even then, I'm really scratching the surface. I accept that it's going to take the whole of my life to get closure on it if I ever do. But I believe that by sharing my story, I can help promote mental health, and determined that it's going to do some good. So I've chosen to donate 50% of the book money, whatever we sell, to supporting mental health disability in this region. I also have committed to support my dad's regiment in respect of what he went through and what soldiers go through. So the Royal England Regiment will also be receiving donations from the book sale. What I intend to do is sit down with all of the groups every year, look at what I've raised, and nominate lots and lots of small projects in this region that need supporting. Let's say that it'll with the army, it will not just be the army. It will be via SAFA and the British Legion, and people from all forces, because they go through it. And I think I realise now what not only my father but a lot of people's fathers and grandfathers went through, and we're lucky enough now to have support. They never did.
Yeah.
In those days, it was seen as cowardice. They were shot. And the little times that my dad did talk to me, I realised just how bad things were.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my commitment for life. Awesome. Put something back. So I'll do my best.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So what can I say? There's so much value that's coming out of there. So many challenges, issues, bits of worry for me, but real tons and tons and tons of positivity. So guys, what I'm going to ask you to do is please share this. We're going to be on for a short while longer. I want you to share this with all of your family, your friends, your associates, your business colleagues, everything. Get some views on this video, because there's a ton of inspiration in here. And there's also a few challenges that maybe people need to see and hear about, and maybe do some good and address those themselves. Going to ask you though, it might be a little bit raw, so you can you can punch me in the face if you like, but can you give some people out there who are in a similar condition, who have gone through some challenges, because you've given a really fantastic account of the highs and lows and the ebbs and flows of what's gone on in your life. But what if you were to say give 2 or 3 things that really help you on a daily basis to get you through a day or a week or a crap time or a challenging time, what would they be?
The one thing I've learnt with the counselling and therapy is you have to sometimes accept who and who isn't your friend, your family, because you have to build around you a circle of friends who truly, honestly will be there for you, and you can be there for them. And also believe, and stand up for yourself and speak for yourself. Those that say mental health disability doesn't exist because they can't see it, I haven't shared this before, but I did
exclusive.
Exclusive.
Go for it. We've got an exclusive.
They say lucky in life, unlucky in love, and vice versa, and that's very true.
You read my biography.
I had a fantastic life on stage and in my career. I had absolutely rubbish life in relationships.
Okay.
Right person, wrong time, vice versa. But you know what it's like. But anyway, I was in a position that I felt I wanted somebody who understood me in my life, to actually have, not to get into a deep relationship initially, but to have a laugh and a joke and just share some times with. Now, a while back, I went on to Britain's leading dating site, without mentioning a name, and put a normal profile on.
I wouldn't know what it is.
I saw you on there the other day.
Was it in the dress or out of the dress?
No, that's wellies and suspenders. And I didn't mention mental health, and there was a lot of feedback, lots of interest, and I terminated. Last month, I decided I was ready, and I put a very detailed 2,000 word profile up, lots of pictures there. The whole kit and caboodle of my last story. But I mentioned that I was recovering from mental health disability. In 4 weeks, there's been probably 1,000 people looked at my profile. Not one single person has commented, responded, or otherwise. And I am convinced it's simply because of the stigma of mental health, because I've asked friends to look at it. They said, God, what a great profile. How honest of you to do that. And I then wrote to lots of people, just, hi, how are you? How are you finding things? And again, with one exception, nobody responded. And I think that is a reflection of, you know, how shallow things have become in society. Okay. I really feel that. But I'll just sort of branch off to that. Okay. But you were saying about being encouraged. What
gets you through a day?
Yeah. Standing my ground. I got to a point, the last time I was driven to nearly killing myself, actually. I really thought about taking an overdose. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't because of somebody I didn't know. It was because of a member of family. somebody sent me a very long hate mail. It wasn't a couple of words, it was a whole page.
Okay.
And it was destroying everything in my life, what I'd done, who I was, degrading me, devaluing me to the point. And I talked about it with my counsellor team, and they told me something fantastic that changed my way of looking. They said, this person dominates your life. You can't see your family without thinking about it. You can't go out your house. And what you've got to think of, imagine that's not a person, but imagine if you felt they were nothing more than a piece of chewing gum that was stuck to the bottom of your foot.
Okay.
And I pictured that, and you know, every day since, every time I think about this person or actually bump into them in the supermarket, and I think about that, and you know, it does work.
Okay.
So next time someone puts you down, change the way you think about them, because you deserve to be treated with respect and compassion. And I'm sick and tired of people saying mental health, no such thing, and just making it up, because to me it's the most destructive illness there is, and it's up there with, you know, the dementia and cancer and everything, because it destroys your life. It destroys everything, and for me, it took away everything I had in life. Now, I'm going to give a shout out to a couple of people out there who have been through. So
Go for it.
there's a girl out there, Tanya. Tanya, if you're listening, she's in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Loves her music. She's passionate about life. She's leading a campaign to get people in wheelchairs the right to go on a dance floor and enjoy music, because they can't. And she goes everywhere, and she organises a lot of big old school music nights all over the country. Fantastic personality. So well done, Tanya. Keep fighting the fight.
And you're going to share her links and comments in
Yep,
there?
absolutely.
Brilliant. Cool.
My colleague John Durham, who was on here a little while back, I've got respect for you there, John, as well, because you talked about your situation and you stand up. Well done. Fantastic.
Yeah.
There's another colleague of mine whose name I can't mention because he's in a bad way at the moment, but I will share his story just because it shows that we need support. He was the leading person in a PTSD campaign.
Yep.
He's ex-military, served in Afghanistan. I believe he did a number of tours, came back with this illness, campaigned, could not get the help or support, all the funding. His family had tried desperately to help. At the moment, he's living rough on the streets half the time. He's got a place where he can live and stay, but he's not getting the support. And he wrote to me several times about wanting to end it, and I've hopefully been able to put him off that. But I think there's so many brave people out there who are fighting and wanting help that are just not getting the help they need. And a lot of that is not because of ignorance, it's because the funding has been taken away.
That was going to be my question. I was going to say, did they know where to get it?
Yeah, I was supposed to be on support for the last 3 years with counselling. The recovery project stopped 9 months ago, lack of funding. The counselling stopped 6 months ago, lack of funding, so I had to go private. That's why I'm determined to do my own projects to fundraise, because one of the things I've talked about is setting up in Gloucester, for example. What about if we had an access style, you know, cafe where once a week anyone with mental health issues could go there, get food and drink coffee, something to eat, meet representatives from all the groups, from Mind, Rethink Mental Illness, Dial, Time to Change, and support groups, and a professional paid therapist. So once a week they had someone to go, regardless of their situation.
Yeah.
And that's just one sample of a project I thought would be fantastic to fund and endorse. So there's so many bits and pieces that we can do, and I just feel so passionate about the fact that, you know, there needs to be a way forward. A lot of the grant applications I've found that as an individual you can't apply for. Groups have to apply for you, or you have to provide matched funding. Well, okay, if we can provide matched funding for good causes, or get groups to endorse projects on our behalf, let's do it, because there's so much out there and so much can be done. And one thing that keeps me going is the realisation that I'm not alone. There's a lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
people like yourself, like Todd, John and Tanya and many more I've talked to. You know, it's I'm really humbled by, you know, the people that have talked to me. You know, I mean, my Facebook page is nothing more than my comments and support, and I think we've got nearly 700 people on there who are following it and sharing their stories and relating to what we do.
Good.
And that keeps me going, that keeps me breathing somehow.
Excellent.
So,
right.
yeah, that's...
I just want to say thank you to everybody who's come. I've sat here over the last hour, and you know, I've said my bit. John's been an absolute shining light and a fantastic example of what the challenges are with mental health and what you can and can't get, and also the struggle within, the absolute struggle within. And this is what I want to say thank you for now. I've sat here for the last hour and just watched heart, love, like, just popping up across the screen. We've got Instagram going on here as well, live. So you check that out at Mr. Steve Thompson. There's another perspective on some other stuff that we've, you know, and we're going to maybe just come off Facebook a bit and just finish up on here to give these guys some respect because they've joined us here too. But the amount of love and support and emotion and the gratitude that has just come from Facebook, usually just by sitting here, and I'm just like, I've got to say, it's been fantastic having you on.
I think one final thing I'd say.
Go for it.
You break your leg, eventually it heals. Mental health disability, it doesn't go away. It changes your life, but it stays for life. But you learn to adapt and control it. But people say you'll be alright 6 months or a year. No, I mean, my nighttime, my nightmares, flashback, they'll be with me for the rest of the life, but I will learn to adapt and cope. Daytimes, even now, I'll have days where it takes a day to make a cup of coffee, that's all I can do. Another day I'll get on with things, but you have to cope every day. It's a coping mechanism, that's what it is. When you can't do it, don't force yourself. When you can do it, you know, that's all I say. Please understand that anyone out there with mental health disability in any shape or form, it's their good days and bad days. It's life-changing. You can't force these people to go back and do what they did, because it does change your life. You have to adapt. You have to do different things. And for me, one of the hardest things to cope with has been the memory of what I used to do. So I will go back and do as much as I can in a small way. So please, anyone out there, don't give up. Just adapt as best you can.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Oh, screw that, come here. Brilliant. Everyone, thank you ever so much for joining us on Facebook Live. Please comment, share, whatever you need to do. We want you to share this. We want you to spread the word about what is going on. We will be back next week for another Mental Health Monday. Join us. Thank you very much. Do you know what? I'm going to hang on because there's just too much love and I'm not going to turn it off. Come on, keep it coming. Keep coming. Come on, press those buttons. That's it. Come on, keep going. Keep it coming. Please. No, come on. I'm milking it. This is what I mean. This is what I mean.
That is amazing.
It just keeps coming.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice to know.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
we've
if you're having a
so
crappy
many.
day, just go and do this on people's Facebook. Just go on there and just, I like that. I love that. Because this is amazing. And this is, you know, and this is what picked me up. I don't get better than this. You know, the fuel is, that's my fuel. If people appreciate it's just something you do for somebody else.
You're just never alone. No matter how much you feel it, there's so many ways of...
I'm not turning this on. They're going to hit, we'll stay for as long as you stay. Okay?
I've done the Christmas shopping, so as long as they serve coffee, that's fine. But no, that is the key thing. You know, I mean, I know I've only scratched the surface.
While they're doing that, okay,
Yeah,
bring
sure.
your Instagram over.
That is the key thing, people. Just never give up.
Instagram.
Don't be alone.
Come on, this is what Facebook are doing. This is what Facebook are doing. So come on, show some love, drop some comments in. So what we've been doing over on Facebook Live, and you joined us later on, was the fact that we were talking about mental health. We're talking about John's book, all his charity work that he's doing, and going through his story. If you want to know more about it, please go on to Facebook at Mr. Steve Thompson, and I will share the links across all different platforms. I really would like to take a look at the video and see John's story. Sorry, Paul's story. Going mad today. That's my middle name, John. Hit me. I really would like you to just come on to Facebook at Mr. Steve Thompson. You can find it there. You find the links. There's going to be tons of comments, lots of information and value for people who are suffering from mental health and PTSD. Thank you. Saying bye to Instagram now. Facebook is still going with likes and love and everything else. End that one. Seriously, you're taking the mic now. You can go now.
Wow.
Do you know what? Hang on.
That just proves you're not alone.
Let's grab this camera because we're videoing it too. Hang on. The love is still coming. Seriously. James, right now we've got a guest who wants to join in. Okay, this man's a bit of a legend. Okay. Go on, I'll put him in and then we'll go in. Look at this. Let's hope he can get on for a quick cameo. It's unreal. That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm even getting questions now about who the guy is in the corner. Oh, that guy. Bodyguard. Do you want to see the receptionist?
Oh,
see.
Oh, shaking.
Right.
Gonna warn me to do my hair.
Mate, there's. Oh, hang on. Right, I've got you on here, but there's no. I'm right. I've got you on the desktop for image.
Yeah.
But I've got you audio on the phone.
Oh, hang on. Let me turn my audio off. Hang on. Do I need my audio off?
No, just chat. The thing is,
Chat.
we can't see you on the screen up here, but we can see you on the laptop over here.
God.
Anyway.
So that was really, really inspiring. Lovely lovely and very upsetting to hear your story.
Right.
Thank you.
Talk to him on that one.
Okay.
Because he'll see you on that one. We'll see you on this one. There's a delay. So that's what he looks like. But, no, don't hold that against him.
Actually, almost got matching haircuts. I think we could.
Yeah, I noticed that. Great minds think alike.
It must be a mental health bloke thing. Standard issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mr. Fox, how you doing?
Not too bad. Just having I think you call it working from home if my boss is watching. Mental Health Monday.
Absolutely. It's time. You need to recharge.
Oh, absolutely. Your famous
you
words.
Don't put your own oxygen mask on.
What was it? Fit your own oxygen mask before helping others.
That's the one.
And what height are we cruising at the moment, Stephen?
I can't remember.
About
42,000
feet, I think, or something. That's free. But yeah, really inspiring. Great to hear your story, and hopefully we can get this to go viral. I've shared it on all of my social pages. So that would have interaction probably with 100 countries by about 8 o'clock tonight.
Thank you so much. It's
glad
really
to be of service. And I've sent you a message on your personal Facebook asking when I can buy you dinner.
Oh,
on
thank
me.
you. That's incredibly kind of you.
No, do you live? I take it you live over Steve's way somewhere.
Yeah, he's in
the east.
Lowestoft in Suffolk.
The east. Yes, I'll make a journey from the north.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Take care, guys.
Cheers.
Bye for now. Bye.
See you later. That was James Fox, absolute legend. Check him out. You'll find him in that feed. He's gone mad. I don't want to turn this off because we're still going. There is still. This is unreal. It really, really is. Hang on, wrong way around. Look, this is mad. Look at all the love. It's still coming through. Guys, I'm so humbled. Thank you ever so much for all of your support. But we are going to have to turn it off because we've got places to go and people to see and other great things to do. Right. Bye from me.
Bye from me.